Hello and welcome to Middle-Aged Geek Girl. I'm Sally. So today I thought I'd do a video that shows you how I tackle an 11 count pre-stamped cross-stitch kit. Now I'm not calling it a tutorial per se because I am a messy cross-stitcher and I'm sure there are people out there that do it much more elegantly and maybe explain things a little bit better than I do, but I want to show you how I tackle them. I have been asked before in the comments and I thought, why not? Let's run it through together. So I thought the best one to start with was this kit I got here from Spring, and I have done the unboxing with this in our biggest craft haul. So that's where I picked up this kit, and it's perfect for beginners. It's only small. It's 25 by 20 centimeters, and that's not the entire image. It's only this part within here that you need to stitch, so 65 by 43 stitches, which is not a lot of stitches, and being 11 count, it's a bigger fabric, so it's great for beginners. It's also all full stitch and a bit of back stitch that you can see around the outside. Bit of a disclaimer that I'm not the neatest cross stitcher in the world. I'm not the most elegant cross stitcher in the world, but by showing you how I do it, it shows you just how accessible these pre-stamped kits are to everybody, that no matter how messy you are as a cross stitcher, you can still enjoy these pre-stamped kits. So these spring kits are awesome because they come in nice little pouches like this, and they come with everything you need to cross stitch minus two important things. I have these separately and you might pick them up from other kits, but this is a needle threader to help you obviously thread the floss through your needle. You might not need one of these. You might be one of these freak of nature people that can just put the thread straight through the eye of the needle. I am not, so I need all the assistance I can get. And also obviously some scissors. I got these from our local Spotlight, and yeah, you can pick these up anywhere. Apart from them that you need separately, you get everything else you need in the kit. So you get your floss, you get your needle, you get your canvas with the image already stamped on it, and you also get, and this one you got the chart and you got that separately. So it's the same information. It's just telling you what symbol to look for, which corresponds with what color to what DMC code. And you also get an instruction sheet. So if you are completely new to cross stitch, this helps you out with what to do. So as I say, this is the way I tackle them. Other people might do it differently and you might find their methods easier to follow than mine. But to start us off, we basically need this. Now it's only this part that needs stitching, so this isn't a big one to do, which is why I think it's a beautiful kit to get for a beginner. It's all full stitch, so you don't need to worry about any other fancy stitch. It's all literally a full cross. And I do tell a bit of a lie, this one also has back stitch. Back stitch again is something that you would use, as you can see, just to get the definition. Like if you're drawing, you would use back stitch as an outline. We'll start off with, I think, let's start with at the top, we'll start with the brown part of the cat. So the one that is the symbol that is just like a slash. So if you want to know which color thread to use, if we're starting off with these bits that are like the slashes, it is thread number 7, or if you're doing DMC codes, it's DMC code 3854, and that confirms it all on the canvas for you. So this section, thread number 7, 3854. So we'll get thread number 7 off, and we will get the needle out because obviously we're going to need the needle. Now needles that come for 11 count canvases have slightly thicker eyes and they're not that sharp. Because you don't need it to be sharp to go through these holes. You just need it to be sharp enough to go through a hole easily, but not sharp enough that you're going to prick yourself constantly. Normally 11 count is done with 3 strands because it is are bigger holes and a bigger square you've got to cover. So you divide, and these all come with 6 individual strands. So you basically just need to divide it in half. So 3, find your 3. So you've got 3 and 3. Now, other people might do this more elegantly than me. I'm a bit rough. As you can hopefully see, like everything's sort of the same color a bit there, isn't it? So I have divided it 3 by 3. Now, I'm rough. So how I do it is I just pull it down. And then when it starts to get a bit bulky and knotty, I pull it like so, and then put a finger in there and just try and guide it down. Now, there might be nicer, delicate ways to do this, but as I say, this is a how I tackle it video, and I'm as rough as guts. I don't do anything delicately. And I've never had a problem with this. This has always worked for me. I'm just untangling it as I go and just guiding my finger down the middle. But as I say, if you find an easier way to do it, by all means, please do it that way. But as that's divided perfectly without a hassle. So we've got 2 lots of 3 now, which is what we need. So now with your 3 strands, we shall thread the needle. Now, because it's a fatter needle, you use the fatter end of these little umbrella threaders. Thread it your way. If you, as I said, if you're one of these, I said freaks of nature, but really, if you're awesome enough that you can thread that through, go for it. But there we have. Whoop, make sure you don't pull it back out again. But there we have a nice threaded needle ready to start a cross stitch. Now, if you find that the actual length of the strands is too long for you to negotiate, because if this is your first time cross stitching and you just find that, look how big is it if we wind it all there. If that's all too much for you to handle, feel free to cut it in half. You don't have to have the full length of thread that you're given. You can cut it in half. It's whatever's easy for you to handle. Okay, so this one is small enough to be able to be held in your hand. You don't need a frame for it. So what I tend to do is just curl it around like that till I get to the point where I want to start doing my stitching. Now, I stitch from left to right and then back from right to left. So I do one layer and then come back and do the rest of the cross. Some people might do each cross individually. I don't, unless it's a small area where, like here, it's two stitches, or if it's a 1 stitch area, I might do it. But most of the time I do it basically all one way and then come back and do the rest of this cross. So now you start from under the canvas so that you can pull the thread, and you always start at the bottom left, okay? So the bottom left of that square, now pull all the thread or the floss through. I leave about that much, which is probably about 2 or 3 centimeters. You can always trim it later, but I like to leave more of a room for error. And I'll show you why I leave that much in a moment. But bringing it back to the front, the next stitch you do will be diagonally across, and this nice pattern here is sort of helping you guide where you've got to put your needle. So it's basically the row up and 1 across, so a diagonal. Move it down like so. Pull all of that floss through, but not so hard that you pull out the back that you've already put in. So get it to about there. And as you can see, I've already started to pull, and that's why I always leave a lot, because I will, like I said, I'm rough, so I will always end up pulling that through. But just grab the tails and pull it back through. This is where I want to catch this under my next stitch so that it will hold these threads in place and it won't come out. What I do is I flatten that down, I put my thread over it like so, and get ready to put it in the next hole along, like that. Hold that thread down as you pull your needle through, And as you can see, it's caught all of that tail there under that stitch. And that's so that will help it not come out as you pull it. So just continue doing that. So again, diagonal, pull all your thread through. Next stitch. Now you can always flip your canvas over to make sure that all of your tail part is going to be caught under that stitch, and it is. Again, diagonal. And that is here the last stitch we have for the first part of the cat's ear. So now we're going to go back this way and complete the stitch. So what you're basically doing is the same thing, but now going from right to left. So bring up your first stitch from the bottom right side of the square. And again, diagonal, so you're going to the top left square, top left whole of the square. And pull that through. Now you don't have to worry if this goes over again because it's going to be in the same spot. This is really secure now. This, as you can see, is not going to go anywhere. So yeah, you don't have to worry if this is covering the tail anymore. Again, so for every beginning stitch, it's the bottom right and you're doing a diagonal to the top left. And there you have it. You've done your first 4 stitches. Yay! So that's the first part of the little pussycat done. His little ears done. So now just to continue, as you can see how neatly we've done it at the back here, which is really good for me. I always start off so neat and then it usually ends up a bit more messy. But what you can do at this point is just trim that excess floss there so it is nice and flush. I mean, other people start rows differently. I've seen people do it from the front. I mean, this is the way I've always done it, and I found this the easiest way to start my stitching. Now we don't need to stop here because the next few rows obviously are still of this same color, so we'll just continue doing what we did. And as I say, I like to do half the stitch and then come back and do the other half of the stitch. I think that's for me a better way to do it than do individual stitches, your full stitch for each one. So all we've got to do now is go down that extra row. Again, we're going from left to right, so we're starting at the bottom left hole of the next row and we're going up to the top right hole, so diagonal again of that row. Again, bottom left, top right. Now you can see there is meant to be a gap here. So this next stitch we skip because we don't need to have a stitch there. So we jump over, still bottom left, top right, but we're missing one hole because we need to leave a space. And we do the same thing here again because this will be a different color. That will be color 9, which is white. So we miss one hole and we go over one. Okay, so we've come to the end of that row. Now, as you can see, there are the 4 stitches that need to be done above this row as well to make the ear similar to this side. Now, what I do, again, everybody will probably do this a little bit different, but what I tend to do is I will do that row before I finish this row off. So I'm up to the end here. As you can see, I've put my last stitch in this hole. So if I, using the same theory, you want to make sure you do every stitch the same direction. So always, for me, my bottom stitch always goes from left to right, and my top stitch goes from right to left. So you want to make sure you do the entire canvas that same way, left to right, right to left. So what I'm going to do is do these 4 up the top, and although I'm going to start at the end one, you can still do it the same way because I'm still bringing out the thread from the bottom left hole and putting it up to the top right hole. Whoops. That was clever. Make sure you don't drag your scissors with you if they get caught in the thread. That's the thing, if you use like a full length of floss, it is going to get in the way. So you have to make sure you don't catch things up like that. So that's the last of the 4 that is the first half of the stitch. Now, just to show you how it will look different on the back. So as you can see where I've gone straight across, the stitches all have these straight up and down lines. Now these ones that have diagonal lines on the back are where I've missed the stitch because it will be a different color or there's meant to be a gap. So there, there and there, as you can see. And for the 4 I've just done, because I'm doing them a slightly different, you can see they're all diagonal on the back as well. But they'll still come out the way that they need to. So again, so now we'll go back across, and we're going from the bottom right to the top left. And we'll go back down and finish this row all the way across. So always, because we're doing the top stitch now, it's always bottom right, top left. So there we go, I've done 2 rows of the ginger cat in the bathtub. Just continue stitching along the same color, and I'll come back and show you how I finish off when I have used up all the floss or if I need to change colors. Okay, so as you can see, I've done 6 rows completely with the full stitch, and the needle and the thread is currently at the back here. Now I do have plenty of floss left. I could probably do another row with you, but I wanted to show you how I finish off if I was getting towards the end of this thread. Now some people like to play what they call thread chicken and leave it to the very last possible millimeter of floss they have left. Normally I would have less than this, but as I said, I want to show you how I do it, yeah, so that you know how to finish off a length of thread. So here's the back, what it looks like. This is really neat for me. This I'm quite happy with how that's looking at the back. And it really is quite easy how I finish off. It's just with the thread that you've got, make sure it's at the back of your canvas, and I just thread it through a row of stitches I've already done. So as you can see, I'm making sure to loop it through just the thread part, not the canvas part, because I don't want it to show to the front. So just taking, what's that, about 4 or 5 stitches, I just sew it through like so, and that will be it. And then I cut it off as closely as I can without making sure I don't cut the rest of the floss. But there you go, that's finished off, and how tidy is that? And that is the end of part 1 for this. I will do another video when I have actually done all the full stitches of this piece, and then we'll work through the back stitching together. So thank you for watching. I hope it made some sense. As I said at the beginning, I'm not the neatest, I'm not the most elegant in how I do tutorials and how I do cross stitching, but if it helped at all, I'm glad. So let me know down in the comments what you thought of this video. Is it something you'd like to see more of on the channel? I love to hear from you, and I always respond. But if this is your first time stumbling across my channel, hello and welcome. Please consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and also the notification bell. If you're interested in supporting my channel further, I do have a Ko-fi and a Patreon account set up, and the details are up here on screen. But yeah, I think that will do it for this video. So everybody, no matter where you are, please stay safe, stay weird, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.